Britain is in the grips of an admittedly uncoordinated but nonetheless real Islamic crusade, where large numbers of young men from the Islamic world are being transported to the United Kingdom in order to take over the country. Now, I'm going to say to you, before anything else, these people genuinely believe that they will make Britain a better place by making it an Islamic caliphate. They believe that Islam is the final revelation and a completion of the Bible, the Torah, and all the other documents and indeed religions that came before it. However, I'm going to say that the idea that Islam should take over Britain is wrong, that Britain ought to remain a Christian country, and that now we need to look at these figures and be honest with ourselves about the fact that Islam, whilst full of very lovely people, is an expansionist religion, an evangelical religion that seeks to convert the whole world around to its cause. And that in of itself is the reason why it should not be allowed to run amok in the United Kingdom. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, please send a small donation to the Patriot Fund, because this battle to save our country needs a couple of quid, and you in a very small way, and I in a very small way, help to fund it. I don't know if many of you know, but the siege of Vienna, which ended in 1683, I think, was the last Islamic crusade into Europe. We don't use the term crusade when it comes to Islam. It's more typically associated with the recovery of Jerusalem by the Christians. But nonetheless, they were incursions into Christian areas. And I don't know if you know that the croissant, which is actually the French word, I think, or the Viennese word for crescent, was baked specially by Viennese bakers to celebrate the defeat of Islam and pushing back the Islamic world from Europe back into Asia, where it had come about and in fact taken over the Christian lands there as well. And so people forget that there have been backs and forths before. We always think of the Crusades just being people from France, people from Britain, though mostly from France, going over and harming and killing Muslim people in their own land. But actually, of course, Islam is a far newer religion than Christianity. And, well, I'll be totally honest with you, the reason that North Africans look like they're from the Middle East rather than look like black people from Africa is because of the violence with which Islam was spread. Now, that is not the fault of Muhammad. That is not the fault of an ordinary Muslim. I'm not interested in criticising the religion. And the reason is because I'm quite happy with people of a religion from a particular area to remain within that area. Do you know something? I have to say to you that we've all learned a lesson, haven't we, from the Jews leaving their homeland. They were forced out by the Romans. But what damage and what harm has been done to those people by not having their own homeland to go to has been huge. What about the Kurds by not having Kurdistan? The damage that has been done to them. What about the Druze for not having their own country? And so I believe that it is right that Pakistan has Pakistan, and I believe that it's right that British have the British. Now, some of you in the comment section have complained about me talking about Pakistan. Well, okay, I accept that India was carved up and partitioned, but fundamentally, you know what? Pakistan, Islam is so expansionist that it's actually quite helpful to have a border. There's still a border dispute. There always will be when you're talking about Islamic nations, but it is nonetheless contained. But let's have a look at the asylum seekers that came to the United Kingdom. Now, many of you will have seen these figures already, but look at this. Pakistan, 10,542. Afghanistan, 8,500. Iran, 8,000. Vietnam, 5,000. So what that shows you is the vast majority of people coming to this country are from the Islamic world in countries where there are no wars. 70% of them that came were adult males of fighting age. Only a small number were granted and refused entry. And of course, when we talk about asylum seekers, we forget the Afghan resettlement scheme, which is entirely separately. Now, look, I am going to say to you one thing. Why isn't it that it's Christians that are coming to this country? Because we know that we would take no interest in the Christian genocide in Nigeria. We don't stand up for our own people. And I ask you this question, just in the way that the Jews suffered so badly when they had no homeland, what will happen to the British when they have no homeland? Because remember, you can complain all day about refugees, but refugees have a country to go back to. I have no country to return to. I have no country to keep me safe. Could I say that I was being tortured by an Islamic caliphate in Britain and claim asylum in Pakistan? I don't think that's going to go very far, do you? I think now we have to do something about all this. And I want to apologise for the video that I made, I think a couple of days ago, where I went through what all of the judges would attempt to do in order to stop Nigel Farage or Ben Habib or Nick Tanconi from sending back all of the illegal refugees, all the dodgy refugees and illegal asylum seekers and boat jumpers and border jumpers and whatever. What I said in the title of that video is, here's how they'd stop Farage. Actually, it should have been entitled, here's what they'll do to try. Because it's now very clear that what we did before was we turned around and we said, oh, well, we have to do this, we have to do that. Now, of course, we have got a group of people in the name of 3 or 4 political parties that would send back people illegally in the UK. And now what's happening is the judges and the guys at the Inns of Court and the lawyers are saying, you cannot do this. We won't let you do this. This is not your country. This is our country. And we have the right to fill it with Pakistani jihadis. We have the right to do that. If you oppose this, then you will be locked up and sent to prison. I think what has happened as a result of Brexit is the mask has slipped and we have now seen what sort of a country we are. We're not a real democracy anymore. We're not a free country anymore. We're not a place where people can do what we want to do. And we're certainly not a homeland for the British, or we aspire not to be. Do you see that Humza Yousaf? All the leaders in Scotland are wait. Well, you know what? I would have said to him, well, all the leaders in Pakistan are Pakistani. What's your point? His point, of course, was this, that India should be for the Indians, Africa should be for the Africans, America should be for the Americans, and Europe should be for everyone who wants to come to Europe. I am going to say to you right now that it is vital that Christianity continues. And the only way that Christianity will continue is to have, yes, a strong United States of America, yes, a strong South America, but also a strong Europe. Can you imagine if Catholicism was in the same position as the Greek Orthodox Church? To be the patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Church, you have to come from a Muslim country, namely Turkey. The headquarters of the Greek Orthodox Church is in Turkey, in Istanbul. Can you imagine if Rome was an Islamic city and the headquarters of the Catholic Church was in that Islamic city, how things would change? We need to survive and we need our culture to survive. And I'm going to say something to you. I think British culture has created a great deal for the world. I don't agree with people like Sadiq Khan when he says, well, there was nothing here before. Like the example of Ryland Clark yesterday. Britain was built on immigration. Only if you believe that Britain started to exist in about 1960. I believe that Britain existed for 1,000 years before that and gave so many things to so many people around the world. The danger now is that we are going to have an Islamic caliphate in Britain, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but as long as you open the gates to an inherently expansionist religion and you've also given up on your own religion, that religion will take over. It is just a fact. And we saw it, of course, in the Christian Middle East, where now no country, I don't think there's any country in the Middle East which is majority Christian now. And as I said, there's a reason why people from Algeria don't look like they're from Africa. They look like they're from the Middle East. It's because the black African people that were originally there have all been put to the sword in the Islamic Crusade. Until next time, goodbye. But please do donate to the Patriot Fund. The link is below. Arrivederci and goodbye.